Thank you. One term, Tony, that's one term too many. I want to talk today about the intervention in Northern Territory, but I'll briefly speak about this budget, if you can call it that. Now, prior to the budget, Abbott had hit at marginalised groups already. He'd hit Aboriginal people, he'd hit legal services for $14 million, or $14 million, he hit legal services. He was demonising same-sex marriage couples, and he was obsessed with asylum seekers. Now this budget just carries on from where he started. He started with the marginalised group, and the budget has hit every marginalised group in this country, including our people. As we've heard today, $534 million from Aboriginal programs. We are the poorest group of people in this country, and after 226 years of occupation, we have been left with the most problems. Now, what I have to say to that is this government will and has already got blood on its hands. You strip that much money out of Aboriginal affairs, deaths will occur. That's as sure as night follows day, deaths will occur. That's right, sister, they can run, but they cannot hide. And Tony, you cannot hide from facts. You cannot hide from facts. Your whole mission and your predecessor, John Howard, was to obliterate our people. Now, the Northern Territory intervention was put in 2007. It was brought in fraudulently and based on lies. And we all know that now. That mysterious creature came on, I think it was late night. Yeah, I get them all mixed up with that doyen of media personalities, Tony Jones. I don't know how on earth he got on air. He exposed a story of an alleged youth worker. An alleged youth worker who'd spent allegedly 6 months in Aboriginal communities and discovered there was numerous pedophile rings running out of Northern Territory. This was a lie. Now that alleged youth worker had not spent one single night in a community, not one night. It was later to be found he was in actual fact a Howard staffer, and more to the point, the then Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Mel Brock, it was his boss. He goes on all blurred up, he exposes his story. Next thing we got Howard coming out giving an intervention order. Why does he pick something like this? Nearly every Aboriginal male in the country felt ashamed to go out on the streets. Aboriginal men in the central desert areas felt ashamed to come out of their house. Yet, several investigations later found no such thing occurred. No such thing occurred. Now, if it was about alcohol and violence, he couldn't put it on because he'd have to put it on the broader community. Also, he picked the most emotive target in the country is pedophilia. He stated pedophile rings were operating out of there. That was his reason for the Northern Territory intervention. That was effectively to silence any opposition. Anybody who hears that is immediately stunned. And it did, it worked. It worked. Rudd stood silently by, let it go through. The Gillard government extended by 10 years. Abbott hasn't even mentioned it. Now what we've had since the intervention is people have absolutely disappeared from the Northern Territory. Troops, truckloads of troops went out into the Northern Territory. People grabbed their children and took off. Some of those people have never been seen again. Now, the other thing we've got to look at here, you've got communities like Burraga up in the Western Cape area, who are now, it's settled down in the last couple of weeks, but they've been under siege. Mining companies want that land. They want the land. They have had thugs in uniform in on a nightly basis doing what they call law and order raids, heavily armed in front of little children, flexing their muscles. Every community in the Central Desert area is putting up with the same thing, yet we talk about terrorism overseas. We've got Aboriginal children being traumatised and terrorised on a nightly basis. This intervention was only put in for one reason. It's the biggest land grab since 1788, and it is operating on behalf of the mining companies. Now, what do we have to follow that? $500 million taken out of Aboriginal affairs with a blink of an eye. $500 million. Do you imagine how many programs we're going to lose out of that? You look at just legal services alone. We have the second highest incarceration rate in the world. We have one of the highest deaths in custody rates in the world. When we strip these fundings off, our preventative programs will go. That will mean there'll be more people incarcerated. That will mean there'll be more deaths in custody. As far as I'm concerned, this is murder at government hands. And I will not shy away from that. Abbott, if you have your media people out there, take my photo, I don't care. ASIO, if you're out there, take my photo, I don't care. This government has done enough to our people. I don't care anymore what you do. I'm willing to fight you until I'm old and grey, and our brothers and sisters will follow us. Now, what he's done with these hits, he's hit everybody large and wide. The effect of that is he wants to fragment you, put you in different little groups, and you'll go off fighting in your own little groups. That won't work. Stick. Yes. That's right. The royalty belongs in this country, not in England. Now, don't be fragmented in this fight. Don't the youth go off on their own, the old people go off their own. Fight together. But when we fight together, do not forget the First Nations people of this country. This government has shown us one thing. It is only accountable to corporate Australia. Did you know $14 billion a year goes in diesel fuel subsidies to the mining companies? Gina Reinhardt makes $1 million every 30 minutes. Now, $14 billion goes to them. $500 million is stripped from us overnight. Now, look at that in perspective. This just shows you they are bought and sold by used furniture. That's all these politicians are. They're bought and sold by the corporations, and I'll call it for what it is. From an Aboriginal perspective, this is nothing more than attempted genocide by a government policy enacted by men who are simply Ku Klux Klan in silk ties. Thank you.
Ken Canning, isn't he great? Because just remember, Australia, if they can do it to refugees on Manus Island, they'll do it to you. If they can do it to Aboriginal Australians in remote communities, they can do it to you. If they can do it to the young and the unemployed, they can do it to you. If they can do it to senior Australians, they can do it to you. If they can do it to people with disabilities, they can do it to you. If they can do it to working families, they can do it to you. If they can do it to students, and they will do it to students, they will do it to you. There is one fight that involves many people. It is the people of Australia versus the Abbott government. And they can't hide from the people of Australia, not anymore. They can't hide behind old newspapers. They can't hide behind spin doctors. They can't even hide the photos that get taken of them smoking cigars. They can't hide about their little pre-budget dance party, and they certainly can't hide their glasses of champagne after the most vicious budget this country has ever seen. They can't hide the lies, and they can't hide the ideas that inform the lies. And for that reason, I'd like to introduce my colleague, writer and author Andy Lowenstein, who's going to tell us some truths about those ideas.
Thanks for your warm welcome. I think our point today is, you need to shut up, girl. Our point today is that we protest against this government and the changes that are brought upon all of us with this budget. You need to all come together. In 1972, it was students, unions and black people. We need to do the same thing today with the old people in our community, with the kids that have been targeted, with everyone that's been targeted. At the embassy in Canberra, we tried to build an habit-proof fence 2 years ago. Australia needs to build an habit-proof fence today. We all need to tell this man that we do not abide by what they are saying. The poor people cannot have these things done to them. Our old people cannot have these things done to them. Having to pay $7 every time you go and see a doctor when you're on no income at all is a crime against humanity. This country and the governments of this country have committed crimes against humanity for a long time. Remember the shock and awe tactics of John Howard when he called the intervention on the eve of a federal election. This is shock and awe tactics again from Abbott and Hockey. We don't need these changes to the budget. They need it to protect their wealthy backers and sponsors. I need you as Australian citizens to understand this government doesn't govern for all of us, it governs for an elite few. We are the voters. We need to be able to tell the truth at elections. Abbott told lies. He will continue to tell lies. Joe Hockey's budget is a bag full of lies. We need to build an Abbott-proof fence now. All of us, put your hands together and let's march as one and bring this government down today. Rebellion is the right of all people. We have a right to rise up against unjust laws. It's called civil disobedience. Let's see it in action. Let's see it all play our part in this civil disobedience against the Liberal government. Let's bring a system where Aboriginal law has equal rights to the white man's law in this country. Let my people go. Let us have wealth. What we're entitled to, not Gina Reinhardt and Twiggy Forrest. That's our money, that's our blood they spend every day. Let's get the rich of the rich and rid of the rich liars, and let us govern for all, not govern for some. Thank you very much. You girl, you're going to cause a lot of damage to your cause. You man!
Okay, everybody! It's time to... I don't know.
When we get to Victoria Park, there'll be a smoking ceremony up at the old side of the tent embassy. Be there with a flag. Bring a smoke Sydney out!